you very much, Rainer. I am Alex Thompson, and for 8 years I was an officer of Britain's Signal Intelligence Agency, GCHQ, the partner agency to NSA. City of London, the financial heart of the British Empire, readied itself for that situation from roughly 1870, and that the modern world, the monopolization, the cartelization of the world begins in anger at that time. So there was a revolution in what you might call mind space, which since 2010 has been an explicit term used by the British government's central department, the Cabinet Office. The centre node here is the City of London. That is the square mile at the very heart of what is now called Greater London. Why this is important is because the City of London and the Church of England are the only institutions that have endured every constitutional revolution in the British Isles with their privileges and their vast wealth intact. The City of London also has control over the so-called Mother of Parliaments, the Westminster Parliament, notably in the form of an official of the City of London known as the Remembrancer, who sits in the House of Commons where not even the monarch is allowed to enter and records what is being said against financial interests. It's too complicated to give a definition of the Crown in the British model, but what is important is that the Cabinet Office, a department which was set up in the early 20th century, is the repository, effectively, of Crown prerogatives. And so when people outside the United Kingdom think of the Crown, they often think excessively of the old situation with the monarch standing on the coronation oath and being responsible to the people. In practice, in this period from around 1870, the constitutional revolution has ensured that financiers controlling political parties actually pull the levers of Crown prerogatives. Behind the scenes, the model of government Britain still has, and which it has exported to the Commonwealth and the whole world, is that of an inner sanctum, the Privy Council, which actually governs in the name of the Crown, and it is only for show, as the main constitutional writers have admitted since the 1870s, only for show that Parliament and government departments are consulted as if there were a separation between executive, legislature and judiciary. At Privy Council level, this is not the case. An important way to own the world in future will be to own the minds and the productivity and the thoughts of those in the model, to stop them running away and outproducing their bosses. The Soviet Union and the Third Reich were brought into being for the interests of the City of London, and more particularly its Wall Street end. So if you could bring up briefly the first slide, which I asked you to put on screen, you will see just one outworking of that, which is that IBM had a monopoly subsidiary in Germany called the Hollerith company. Hollerith was the name of the German owner. Can you confirm whether that is on screen at the moment?
It is.
Or well, wait in a moment. Mm-hmm. Thank you. Yes. So you can see here that Hollerith, the nominal German owner of this IBM subsidiary, is offering the Third Reich Übersicht, or oversight, using punch cards, an American technology licensed to the Third Reich. At the bottom, you can read Übersicht mit Hollerith Lochkarten, total information awareness using Hollerith punch cards, and the company name at the bottom is Deutsche Hollerith Maschinengesellschaft, or DEHOMAG, which was in Berlin-Lichterfelde. The second slide which I have is just one example of the total reach of British intelligence in areas which it's not constitutionally able or permitted to have, which is that you can see a Christmas tree symbol here, indicating that MI5, even before the Second World War, was vetting who got onto the airwaves of the BBC, who got promoted and who got transferred. This was all done checking with MI5 in very brief terms. British intelligence, it nominally is there for the nation, but it was set up by the bloodlines of which I speak to further their private aims. That's certainly how they regard the running of British intelligence. The third of my 4 slides shows how this breaks surface in 2010, where the British Cabinet Office is, together with a think tank, the Institute of Government, is openly speaking about its control of the world's thinking and the thinking of the British people. They're labelling parts of the brain under the label of mind space. And on the right-hand side, you have I can see you've put the key text from pages 66 and 67 of this 2010 document. It says, even if people agree with the behavior goal, this is about nudging to get people to behave as was wished by bloodlines rather than to mandate their governments to act on their behalf. Even if people agree with the behavior goal, they may object to the means of accomplishing it. The different mindspace effects will attract different levels of controversy. There are several factors that determine controversy. In other words, they are foreseeing that they will be told this is a reversal of the aims of government, including in healthcare, of course. They go on, as noted, mindspace effects depend at least partly on the automatic system. This means that citizens may not fully realize that their behavior is being changed, or at least how it is being changed. Clearly, this opens government up to charges of manipulation. People tend to think that attempts to change their behavior will be effective if they are simply provided information in an above-board way. People have a strong dislike of being tricked. This dislike has a psychological grounding, but fundamentally it is an issue of trust in government. A lack of conscious control also has implications for consent and freedom of choice. First, it creates a greater need for citizens to approve the use of the behavior change, perhaps using new forms of democratic engagement. You see that in this model, democracy is the highest good that's sold, but the levers of manipulating democracy are in the hands of the cartel. Second, if the effect operates automatically, it may offer little opportunity for citizens to opt out or choose otherwise. The concept of choice architecture is less use here. Any action that may reduce the right to be wrong, the right to refuse treatment, for example, will be very controversial. Of course, some traditional attempts to change behavior are not explicit, and these have attracted controversy. But they rarely attract the charge of manipulation because they are based on conscious actions to supply and register information rather than relying on unconscious reactions. I think that establishes the point well enough in principle that we are trained in the modern world, dominated by the City of London and its soft power institutions, to think that we are in control of our destiny because liberal democracy is held up as the paragon, on the correct argument often that all other systems are more tyrannical and less desirable. But the whole strength of the City of London's model is that it can even operate at arm's length through other countries, such as the United States and Germany, as demonstrated here, to persuade people that what they wanted before is not really what they want now. And it's the filling of the mind space, which is, I think, the most powerful weapon that's available there. Now, I can see that I've gone over the time allotted, so I will leave the rest of these details. I could never have hoped to be comprehensive here, but I trust that I have given people a small taster of the long track record of solid historical research that there has been by people well familiar with the British establishment in establishing this, that the British establishment haven't been fighting fair since about 1870, and that most of the revolutions it wished to bring about, control of democracy through party whipping, control of healthcare through compulsory state-provided healthcare in the British and Canadian model, were all in place by the post-war period, which is the time at which I understand Matt Ehret is going to pick up the testimony and take us into the post-1945 era.